Right now, sitting in your kitchen, there is a plant that contains the exact same antimicrobial compound sold in supplement stores for $55 a bottle. You probably bought it for $2. It is oregano. The compound inside it, carvacrol, has been studied in over 300 published papers for its antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory effects. The problem is that when you eat raw oregano, your body absorbs almost none of it. The active compounds are locked inside the plant cell walls, bound to sugar molecules your gut cannot break apart. So you throw the oregano on your pasta, feel good about it, and absorb maybe 1 or 2% of what is actually in there. Meanwhile, the supplement industry extracts those same compounds using industrial solvents, packs them into capsules, and sells them back to you at a 5,000% markup. And nobody tells you that there is a method, older than any supplement company on earth, that unlocks those compounds using nothing but salt, water, and a glass jar. It takes 5 minutes to set up. It costs less than $1. When researchers finally tested what happens to herbs after this process, they found something that should have ended the supplement industry overnight. Lactobacillus bacteria, the same organisms that turn cabbage into sauerkraut, increase the total phenolic content in common herbs by up to 5 times. 5 times the active compounds, released from the exact same plant, using a process that cost you nothing. Your kitchen is a pharmacy, you just never learned how to unlock it. Let me show you what is actually hiding inside the herbs you already own, because most people have no idea what they're throwing away. Basil contains rosmarinic acid, one of the most studied anti-inflammatory compounds in plant science. It also contains eugenol, the same molecule that makes clove oil a powerful antiseptic. Thyme contains thymol, a compound so effective against bacteria that it is the active ingredient in Listerine mouthwash and has been since 1879. Oregano contains carvacrol, which multiple studies have shown kills antibiotic-resistant bacteria in laboratory conditions. Rosemary contains carnosic acid and again rosmarinic acid, both linked to neuroprotective and antioxidant effects. Mint contains rosmarinic acid plus menthol, a compound used in dozens of pharmaceutical products for pain relief and respiratory support. Every single one of these herbs belongs to the same plant family, Lamiaceae, and they all share a common chemistry built around polyphenols and volatile essential oils. These are not wheat garnishes. These are some of the most pharmacologically active plants on Earth. The ancient world knew it. Modern science has confirmed it. And the supplement industry has been extracting these exact molecules and selling them back to you in capsules for decades. A bottle of oregano oil capsules costs between $24 and $55 for a 60-day supply. A bunch of fresh oregano costs $2 and contains the same carvacrol. The difference is extraction. The supplement industry extracts it with heat, pressure, and solvents. You're going to extract it with salt and bacteria, and you will do it for free. Here is the problem nobody tells you about raw herbs, and it is the reason most people never get the full benefit of what they eat. Plant cells are built like tiny fortresses. The active compounds, the polyphenols, the essential oils, the flavonoids are trapped inside cell walls made of cellulose and pectin. Your stomach acid can break down some of this, and your gut bacteria can chip away at a little more. But the vast majority of the active compounds in a raw herb pass straight through your digestive system without ever reaching your bloodstream. Researchers measuring the oral bioavailability of rosmarinic acid, the signature compound in basil, rosemary and mint, found that only about 1.5% of what you swallow actually makes it into your blood. That means if you eat a gram of fresh basil, your body sees about 15 milligrams of rosmarinic acid equivalent. The rest is gone, and here is the part that makes this worse. The supplement industry knows this. That is why they use supercritical carbon dioxide extraction, steam distillation, and ethanol extraction to concentrate these compounds to levels that would be impossible to achieve from raw herbs alone. They are solving a problem that you could solve yourself for free using a process that also creates compounds the supplements cannot. This is where fermentation changes everything. When you submerge herbs in a salt brine and seal them in a jar, you create the perfect environment for lactobacillus bacteria to thrive. Specifically, two species dominate plant fermentation: Lactobacillus plantarum and Lactobacillus brevis. Together, these two species account for over 70% of the microbial community in any plant-based ferment. And what they do to your herbs in the first 72 hours is extraordinary. These bacteria produce enzymes, cellulase, alpha-glucosidase, esterase, and beta-glucosidase that systematically dismantle the plant cell walls from the inside out. They chew through the cellulose, they break the glycosidic bonds holding polyphenols hostage. They convert large, poorly absorbed molecules into smaller, highly absorbable ones. One study of herbal infusions fermented with Lactobacillus plantarum found that rosmarinic acid derivatives increased by between 2.5 times and 4.9 times, depending on the bacterial strain. Fermented peppermint showed a 72% increase in total polyphenol content. Fermented lemongrass showed a 71% increase. Here is the part that makes this more than just a preservation trick. The bacteria do not just release existing compounds, they create entirely new ones. Lactobacillus plantarum produces GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, a calming neurotransmitter that does not exist in the raw herb at all. It produces short-chain fatty acids that feed the cells lining your gut. It produces bacteriocins, natural antimicrobial peptides that kill harmful bacteria while leaving beneficial ones alive. Your raw basil has zero GABA. Your fermented basil produces it. That is not a small difference. That is a fundamentally different product. Now here's the part the supplement industry doesn't want you to think about. The global herbal supplement market is worth over $51 billion a year. 51. And the entire model depends on one assumption, that you cannot extract and absorb these compounds at home, that you need their factories, their solvents, their capsules, their standardized extracts. Because the moment you realize that a $2 bunch of oregano, fermented in a jar with 20 cents of salt, produces a bioavailable herbal remedy that rivals their $55 bottle, the entire business model collapses, and it's not just the cost. Supplements degrade on the shelf, they oxidize, they lose potency from the moment they are manufactured. Your lacto-fermented herbs are alive. The bacteria are still active, still producing lactic acid, still maintaining the pH below 4.6, still generating beneficial metabolites. A sealed jar of fermented herbs lasts 6 months or more in the refrigerator. Fresh basil turns brown in 5 days. That's not just a preservation method, that's a 25 to 50 times extension in shelf life, while simultaneously increasing the potency of every active compound inside. Name one supplement that does that. And this is not some fringe internet discovery. This is one of the oldest medical practices in human history. Ayurvedic medicine in India has used fermented herbal preparations called asava and arishta for over 3,000 years. These are liquid medicines made by fermenting herb decoctions with jaggery in earthenware pots for 1 to 3 months. The fermentation was not accidental. It was deliberate, systematic, and documented in Sanskrit medical texts. The practitioners observed that fermented herbs worked faster, lasted longer, and required smaller doses than raw preparations. They didn't know about lactobacillus or beta-glucosidase, they just knew the fermented version worked better. In China, fermented herbal beverages date back 7,000 years to the Jehu archaeological site in Henan province. Residue analysis on pottery fragments confirmed the presence of fermented rice, honey, and herbs, making it one of the oldest known fermented medicines on Earth. In Eastern Europe, cavacs, a fermented grain beverage traditionally infused with mint, thyme, and other medicinal herbs, has been used as folk medicine since at least 988 AD. Russian, Ukrainian, and Polish households kept continuous brew crocks of herb-infused kvass for digestive health and immune support for centuries. Korean fermentation traditions preserved vegetables and herbs in soy-based brines called jangaji, building an entire food pharmacology around lacto-fermentation. Every major civilization figured this out independently. Every one of them used the same basic method: salt, water, herbs, thyme. And then the supplement industry convinced us we needed a factory instead. Here's how you do this at home, and I want to be specific because the method is so simple that people assume they're doing it wrong. You need 3 things: fresh herbs, non-chlorinated water, and non-iodized sea salt or kosher salt. That's it. No starter culture needed, no special equipment, No fermentation crock. A standard mason jar works perfectly. Let me walk you through 3 setups, starting with the easiest one. Setup 1, the soft herb ferment. This works for basil, mint, cilantro, parsley, dill, or any combination of soft-leaved herbs. Take a large handful of fresh herbs, roughly 1 to 2 cups, loosely packed. Rinse them under cool water to remove dirt, but do not scrub them. The natural bacteria on the leaf surface are exactly what you want. Tear or roughly chop the leaves to expose more surface area. Place them in a clean wide-mouth mason jar. Now make your brine. Dissolve 1 teaspoon of non-iodized sea salt in 1 cup of filtered, non-chlorinated water. This gives you roughly a 2% salt concentration by weight, which is the sweet spot where lactobacillus thrives, but harmful bacteria cannot survive. Stir until the salt is completely dissolved. Pour the brine over the herbs until they are fully submerged. This is the most important step. Any herb above the brine line will be exposed to oxygen and will grow mold instead of fermenting. Press the herbs down with a fermentation weight, a small jar filled with water, or even a Ziploc bag filled with brine placed on top. Cover the jar with a cloth secured by a rubber band, or use a fermentation lid that lets gas escape. Do not seal it airtight. The bacteria produce carbon dioxide and pressure will build. Place the jar somewhere dark and at room temperature, between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius. Now wait. On day 1, nothing visible happens. On day 2, you will see tiny bubbles forming on the herb surfaces and rising to the top. This is carbon dioxide from the bacteria, and it means the ferment has started. On days 3 and 4, the brine will turn cloudy and slightly yellowish. This is completely normal. Taste a tiny amount of the brine. It should be tangy, sour, and pleasantly herbaceous. If it smells rotten or like sulfur, something went wrong and you should start over. On days 5 to 7, the bubbling slows down. The brine tastes clearly acidic, like a mild vinegar. The herbs will have darkened slightly. This is your finished ferment. The whole process took 5 minutes of hands-on work and 5 to 7 days of patience. Setup 2, the hardy herb ferment. This works for oregano, thyme, rosemary, sage, and other woody-stemmed herbs. These herbs are trickier because they contain high concentrations of thymol and carvacrol, which are natural antimicrobials. At high concentrations, these compounds can slow down or inhibit lactobacillus bacteria. So we adjust the method slightly. Strip the leaves from the woody stems. You only want the leaves. Stems add bitterness and do not ferment well. Lightly bruise the leaves with the back of a knife or by rolling them between your palms. This breaks open the cell structure and gives the bacteria better access. Use a slightly stronger brine for these herbs. 1.5 teaspoons of salt per cup of water, roughly a 3% solution. The extra salt helps buffer the antimicrobial effect of the essential oils and gives the bacteria an edge. Everything else is the same. Submerge the leaves, weight them down, cover loosely, keep at room temperature, and store in a dark place, but expect the ferment to take longer. Hardy herbs typically need 7 to 10 days instead of 5 to 7. The bubbling will be slower, but it will happen. Taste at day 7. If it is tangy and sour, it is done. If it still tastes raw and salty with no sourness, give it another 3 to 4 days. Setup 3, the unlimited medicine jar. This is the one that replaces your supplement shelf. Take 1 cup of basil leaves, half a cup of oregano leaves, half a cup of thyme leaves, a quarter cup of rosemary leaves, and a quarter cup of fresh mint leaves. You now have a blend that contains rosmarinic acid, carvacrol, thymol, eugenol, carnosic acid, and menthol, 6 of the most studied bioactive plant compounds in existence. Roughly chop everything together and pack it into a large mason jar. A quart-sized jar works well. Make a brine using 1 tablespoon of non-iodized sea salt dissolved in 2 cups of non-chlorinated water. Pour it over the herbs, press everything below the brine line, weigh it down and cover loosely. Ferment for 7 to 10 days at room temperature. When it is done, you have a single jar containing a probiotic-rich, bioavailable, multi-compound herbal remedy that covers anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant, digestive and nervous system support. The entire jar cost you less than $5 in fresh herbs and a few cents in salt. The equivalent supplements bought separately would run you over $100, and your jar is alive, still producing beneficial compounds, while their capsules start degrading the day they leave the factory. How to use your fermented herbs. You have 2 products in that jar, the herbs themselves and the brine. Both are medicine. Eat the fermented herbs directly, a tablespoon a day mixed into salads, soups or grain bowls. The texture is softer than raw herbs, slightly sour, deeply savoury, or drink the brine. 1 to 2 tablespoons of the fermented brine in the morning on an empty stomach is the traditional dose used across every culture that practiced herb fermentation. The brine contains lactic acid, freed polyphenols, GABA, short-chain fatty acids, and billions of live lactobacillus bacteria. You can also strain the herbs out, dehydrate them at low temperature below 40 degrees Celsius, and grind them into a powder. Half a teaspoon of that powder in warm water makes a tea that is more bioavailable than any dried herb tea you can buy, because the fermentation has already done the extraction work your gut. Storage. A sealed jar in the refrigerator lasts 6 months minimum. The cold slows the bacteria but does not kill them. The ferment stays alive and stable. Once opened, use within 2 to 3 weeks, and always use a clean utensil to scoop, never your fingers. Your fresh herbs would have been compost by now. Your fermented herbs are getting stronger. First, everything must stay below the brine. Anything exposed to air grows mold, not beneficial bacteria. If you see fuzzy mold on the surface, discard the entire batch. A white film on top is usually calm yeast, which is harmless but tastes bad. Skim it off and the ferment underneath is fine. Second, use non-iodized salt only. Iodine kills lactobacillus. Regular table salt will sabotage your ferment before it starts. Third, use non-chlorinated water. Chlorine is specifically designed to kill bacteria. Filtered water, spring water or tap water left out uncovered for 24 hours to off-gas the chlorine will work. Fourth, the brine must taste sour by day 5 to 7. If it tastes flat, sweet or off after a week, the fermentation failed and you should not consume it. A properly fermented brine reaches a pH below 4.6, which is acidic enough to prevent the growth of Clostridium botulinum and other dangerous pathogens. If you own a pH strip, test it. A pH below 4.6 means safe. Fifth, if you are on blood thinners, immunosuppressants, or any medication that interacts with gut bacteria, talk to a doctor before adding large amounts of fermented foods to your diet. The probiotics and bioactive compounds are real, and they interact with real medications. A $2 bunch of herbs, a teaspoon of salt, a glass jar, and 5 minutes of your time produces a living probiotic-rich, multi-compound medicine that lasts 6 months, costs almost nothing to make, and delivers more bioavailable plant compounds than the supplement industry, which is worth $51 billion, wants you to know is possible.